This is the Pennsylvania Report with State Senator Sean Wiley. The Pennsylvania Report, a look at your state government working for the future of Erie County. Hi, thanks for joining us. We're talking with Senator Wiley about something that's become sort of a nasty word across the state, depending on how you're looking at it, and that is fracking. That is something that could occur in the Erie area, possibly in the future, and it's your position is we should look at it now before it becomes a problem.
Absolutely. We're looking to really get as much information as we possibly can on the impact that drilling would have on the Lake Erie Watershed. It's somewhat unique in the Northwest than it is on other parts of the state when we're talking about drilling. And I think it's really important for us to make sure that we get all of the information in front of us to be able to make some really critical decisions on our environment up in the Northwest.
Well, let's talk about that. Has there been anybody, to your knowledge, inquiring about coming and bringing in the drilling somewhere near the lake?
Yeah, there has. It's moving further and further north. There's a lot of drilling going on in southwest Pennsylvania, and it is starting to move closer to Erie. That we have the Marcellus Shale, and up in the Erie area we have Utica Shale, which is a slightly different procedure. But so there's some interest. Right now the market is in such a condition that there's a slowdown in the drilling with the cost of natural fuel and natural gas. But there is interest to see what is available, what type of opportunities there are in the Northwest. So, I have senatorial advisory committees, and one of which is an environmental committee that there's approximately 7 to 10 people that serve on there, and predominantly environmentalists, and DEP serves on there, and DCNR. And I think it was a consensus in one of those meetings that we gather as much information as we possibly can, not just from the environmentalists, but also from the industry, to really lay out a nice plan or a good plan on how we can make some educated decisions.
You were talking about how much different drilling in the watershed would be from drilling in other parts of the state. Other parts of the state, mountainous, rocky, maybe a little more rural. That's not necessarily the case on the lakeshore, right?
Correct. I mean, with our watershed, it may be some unique conditions for drilling. And I think there's so many unknowns right now and what that would mean for our area. So I think it's very responsible for us to sit down and gather information from both sides of this issue to see how we're going to be moving forward.
In other parts of the state where fracking has come up, where the drilling has come up, there are places where they have drilled in urban areas, and they've said, perfectly safe, we can get in there and be very, very specific to one area. Is that sort of the situation that you've been hearing from the drilling industry?
Yeah, and I'm anxious to hear more in a hearing that we have asked and requested to have. But yes, from what I understand, there are companies within the industry that take a very methodical approach to drilling and do it in a very safe way. It depends on who you talk to, because if some of the environmentalists really stress that there's no good way or no safe way to frack. But again, that's the intent of really gathering as much information as we possibly can. I think the only way for us to really get a clear indication of what this would mean is to bring the professionals in to really help us understand what the impact would be.
Now, again, fracking is a situation where they drill into rock and break that rock apart to get the natural gas that's inside the rock and take it out. That's a procedure that a lot of people have found pretty damaging to the environment, not just for the fracking, but also for what comes out, the water that comes out and the air quality that comes out.
Right, and and there's also chemicals involved in the process. And some of the concern is not just the impact that it has on the rock and the layer, but it's also the chemicals that are used during the drilling process. And the initial concern is what that would mean for our watershed, and would there be any opportunity for those liquids to be able to bleed into our watershed? And again, there have been circumstances of accidents that have happened that may have been the case. But again, I think that we really have to give the industry the opportunity to let us know what they would do to prevent such an occurrence. And if it's a possibility. If it's possible to prevent this. If it's not, then we have to really take a different approach.
It's interesting too, because another thing that people have pointed to is the fact that when they do, they use water to help break up the rocks, and that has the chemicals in it, as you said. But then that has to be extracted and brought back to the surface after the rocks have been shattered.
Correct.
And that water has been a big fighting point of dispute since the fracking began. Where to store it, what to do with it after it's worked with. If that gets into the lake, that could cause a lot of problems.
There's no question about it. And the disposal of that frack water, it has been, as you said, a bone of contention in this entire process. There's been rumor that they've been trucking this liquid out to other states and disposing it in other states. There's been rumor that it's been just laid out into the environment. But we have to make sure that that's not the case. We have to make sure that we're addressing this in a very safe way. It's not just in Northwest Pennsylvania. We have to make sure that we're addressing this across the Commonwealth. It has taken a back seat to some of the other conversations we're having right now with the budget and how we're moving forward with our fiscal situation. But I have to say that we have to really focus on the environmental impact that drilling has, specifically in this situation, in this conversation with the Lake Erie Watershed.
Now that you brought up finances, let's bring that up. This is a big business, and it is bringing jobs and industry to parts of Pennsylvania that haven't had them for a long time. Do you think it could help Erie financially?
There's no question about it. I think that the impact that the drilling has had on the Commonwealth economically there's no question that that's been a boon for Pennsylvania. The concerns of the impact on the environment need to be addressed, but I believe that this industry really, we need to partner more with this industry to make sure not only is it safe, but also how we can partner in providing some of the services that we're obligated to provide. I mean, this governor introduced a proposal to have an extraction tax, which would be consistent with other states that have this type of drilling across the country. And I think that that's a responsible approach. What percentage we tax on that can be discussed. But I really believe that we have to look at alternative forms of revenue when we're in a situation that we're in, outside of a property tax. And so I think that this could be an opportunity for the industry and the government to partner and see how we could fund some of our key services.
In the short time that we have left, you said that you want to have a hearing on this. You want to have people come to Erie who are from government, from the industry, from environmental, and just the general public to talk a little bit about this.
Absolutely. We're having a hearing coming up shortly, and we're going to be bringing in local talent, local people that are going to be stressing their concerns about what this could mean for our watershed, but also, like I said, members from the industry that are able to come in and talk about really what this would mean and the process and how they would prevent any wrongdoing or prevent any accidents from happening. I think that it's very clear that we really must listen to all sides of this issue to be able to make an educated decision.
And once again, there is no fracking going on right now.
That is correct.
There isn't really the possibility of fracking in the immediate future. This is something you're doing to sort of preempt things and get a handle on it before it starts.
Absolutely. We have to gather this information now so we're not surprised in the future, or we don't attempt to just push this on our citizens across the Northwest. We have to make sure that everybody is part of this discussion.
All right, and if you'd like to be part of the discussion, if you'd like to tell the senator what you think about fracking or get in touch with him about any topic, all of his social media information is at the bottom of the screen, and in a couple of seconds we'll tell you how to get a hold of him at his district office. Thanks for watching.
People with disabilities may request a transcript of this program by calling area code 717-787-5166. The TTY number is 1-800 364 1581.